Folks, welcome back to the garage. Another episode of Do It Yourself Paint Your Corvette. Now, last week we were talking about hopefully, let me grab this. We were hopefully gonna have the doors off of here, and that just didn't happen. It's still blazing hot here in Vegas. I swear the devil has just doubled down. Either that or my ex came to visit, one of the two. But it hit like 120 this weekend, and plus I had some buddies in town. But I did get a large portion of the doors sanded in 320 grit. Those are in pretty good shape. Where we left off on episode 5, we were working on this trunk lid and getting those stripes off of there. I'm gonna take some 3M 400 grit wet dry paper. I'm gonna soak that really good, get it nice and soft. I'm gonna wrap that again in a Dura-Block, and I'm gonna block sand this just to make sure it's completely flat in a 400 grit. But in episode 5, I was talking about you were gonna have to do some spot primering. I did that through the center, the two edges. And since a lot of this primer is not going to stay, there was no need to go mixing primer and dirtying up a spray gun. I'm using the Transtar 2-in-1 primer. This is a pretty good primer that you can use on metal, you can use it on fiberglass, you can use it on plastics, and even flexible bumpers that has a flex additive in it. But it's a pretty good primer for going over little spots of bodywork, which is what I use that for. And when I block this, that'll just ensure that there's no ridges, no seams, no lines or anything like that showing. And this panel will be ready to paint. So I'm gonna shut up now. Let's get started. I'm just gonna go ahead and wash off the entire panel. Just to get any dirt and grime off of there that may have settled on it. Be sure to really soak down your sandpaper. It's going to take a bit for that to get pliable. You can tell that that's kind of thick. So you want to get this really pliable so that when it folds, you don't have hard edges that'll cut into your paint. So, soak down an area, set it in where it's wet. It'll take it a good 10 minutes to soak up that water, and that'll make it really good for wet sanding. All right, that sandpaper's been soaking pretty good. Oh, here's a cool little trick for you. When you have a sanding block, or just to dry off a panel, you can squeegee it with a sanding block. Anyways, take your wet sanding paper, keep it nice and even, pull it tight. I like to actually want that tighter. I like to leave the fold in the paper right on the edge so it doesn't mistakenly, start dragging along the surface. Just get started by sanding in a circular motion, just like when we were prepping it, especially in this area where we were covering the stripes. Once it starts going smoother, you can just go back and forth if you want to. One of the most useful tools you could possibly have when you're doing auto body work is the palm of your hand. When the palm of your hand is clean and you can slide it over top of the bodywork areas that you're working on, you can feel every single imperfection in the palm of your hand. And once you've been doing this for a while, you really get a feel for it. And you can tell when your surfaces are just how you want them to be. All of this milky looking substance, that's the primer that you're sanding away. And at this point, I'm gonna stop and rinse the part off. I don't like letting that stuff build up because then you can't see imperfections. Also clogs up your sandpaper, so be sure to give that a good rinse too. I'm using base coat clear. See those cat-like reflexes? I'm using a base coat clear coat. And that being the case, I'm going to wet sand every single panel, whether it's been primered or not, because I want it to have a 400 grit final surface, and that's what I'm going to be painting on. 320 grit leaves a little too many scratches for a base coat clear coat paint material. I'm going to be using a product called Chroma Base that used to be DuPont. It is now Axalta. I wanted the paint to be as simple as possible to fix in the future, and Chroma Base is awful easy to fix. Also, if you should ever drop this on the ground, make sure that you wash it off and that you feel it and make sure it didn't pick up any dirt or rocks or anything like that off the ground. Maybe need to do a little bit in here, a little bit more over here, and this panel is going to be done, and this is going to be a surface that is ready to paint. This used to be metallic black. I like that metallic. This little dip area that's right here, I'm picking the sanding block up on its edge and letting that edge go through there because the block's not going to go through there smoothly. Let that sandpaper do its job. Your job is to be patient. Did I mention how much I like these lights? And they're waterproof. There'll be a link down below to where you can pick up the light sticks yourself. And I'll put links down below to the sanding block, the wet sanding paper, and I'll see if Amazon sells that Transtar 2-to-1. I don't know if they do or not. All right, all washed down. I'm not even gonna set anything back on this panel because it is ready to paint. That's what your ready to paint surface should look like. We're gonna do a couple other things. We're gonna take wax and grease remover and we're gonna spray this down and we're gonna wipe it off one last time, and this panel is ready to shoot. Are y'all tired of waiting for me to get to the painting part? I'm kind of getting tired of waiting for the painting part. Let's paint it. I'm gonna spray this down with a wax and grease remover. It just gets any grease from your hands, petroleums, oils, whatever off of the surface. And I'm gonna use what's called a lint-free towel. I'll put links to all this stuff down below. It doesn't leave any lint behind and you have a clean surface. The very last thing I'm gonna do before I start shooting paint is I'm gonna take a Detro Tack cloth, and this has like a sticky wax on it, and you just lightly wipe it all over the top, and then you follow it up with spraying your paint. So let's get started. Don't have to completely soak the panel. Then flip your lint-free towel over. Give it one last wipe. At this point, I go ahead and take my paint material. Pour that into my mixing cup. I'm gonna put my lid on here. We're gonna wipe this one last time and we're gonna start spraying paint. First thing I'm gonna start with is the edges. Now that those edges are all blacked out, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit the primered areas. And the reason that I did that is so when I go to paint this all in even passes, I'm not gonna have to put more paint over a lighter color and less paint over a darker color. So that's only gonna take a couple minutes to flash. Hey, it's been about 5 minutes. That should be flashed already. We can go ahead and start painting the entire panel. Be really careful as to where your air hose is so that you don't drag it through your paint. And you're just going to make nice, even passes. You're going to overlap your last paint pass about 50%. Now that I've gone from left to right, I'm going to go front to back. And this is what's called a cross coat. This just helps make sure that your paint material is nice and even all the way across. All right, let's make a panel shine. And now that I've gone that way, I'm gonna come back and go left to right. I'm gonna do what's called a flow coat on this car. So this is gonna get sanded one more time. It's gonna get one coat of clear with a little bit of black color in it, just to cover up any minor imperfections that may be there. Then it's gonna get a full coat of clear. That's gonna be over reduced, and it's gonna lay out really nice and flat, and hopefully I won't have to do as much color sanding and buffing. That's what our panel looks like all painted. Then it'll really look like a sheet of glass. And we'll be getting back to more parts on this. Everyone, thank you for tuning in. If you found this helpful, entertaining, whatever, leave us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you all next time. Watch some more Vice Grip Garage.